Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. I am Charlemagne, a Godforge content creator, and with me here today, I have MrSneakyy. What's up, man? Welcome to the channel.
How you doing, dude? Yeah, man, I'm excited to do this video. I know we're short notice, but obviously you need prime time to make the good content, right? That's what we
Yes.
want. Fast snap
Yes.
news, boys.
Oh, yeah, I know. So this video today is all about the dungeon information, some of the other little sneaky things that he threw into the Fateless video yesterday, all talking about what is going to be inside of Godforge. And I thought, man, you guys like to hear me talk sometimes, but what's even better is talking with another creator. And so Sneakyy's on here. We're going to be talking and kind of just cutting up some of the things that Simon shared regarding some heroes, some animations, the dungeons that we saw, and really just diving right in. So let's get into it, man. We were chatting a little bit before this video started, but talk to me about like your first reaction to kind of seeing those dungeons in the game.
Yeah, it was interesting because as we were kind of just mentioning, then you can see he kind of covers half of it up himself. But you can see there's the ascension section and the equipment section. So clearly, when it comes into dungeons, they're splitting up how you can get different types of gear or power on your account, which does make it a lot more easier for I'd say like newer players, including like players like myself who are coming to the genre for the first time, because now I'm not just going to the dungeon raid boss and then seeing all 12 or 20 bosses and guessing which one I need to kill for the right thing. So yeah, I was really impressed with even just the initial dungeons that the saw. What about you?
Yeah, no, I was definitely impressed myself. One, just if you think about like visually, right? So like on that first screen, he's talking about the Ascension dungeons, which oh man, oh my gosh, they look incredible. The bosses there. But then yeah, you switch over to equipment and okay, so I know where I'm going for what. I know if I want to empower my heroes, make them stronger, get those resources for ascending, then this is where I need to go. Versus, okay, now I just really need to focus on equipment. And I think that definitely helps the player. And man, talk about starting out. How many dungeons we saw. Can you believe it? I mean, just on the screen alone where Simon shows the equipment dungeons, there is what you can see almost full 5 there, which is awesome. And right before we hit record, I actually realized this, Sneaky. The Golden Guardian's not there.
Yeah, this is what I was going to mention. So I think the Golden Guardian might be somewhere else in the game, because I think when you watch the thing pop up, there's dungeons, and is there like raids as well or something? Like I'm sure there's 2 different categories.
Right here, you see that there's dungeons, and yeah, there's bosses, which, funny enough, on his screen, even though you would imagine, I mean, based off, it's max energy, max gems, everything like that, everything should be unlocked. But it's showing also that his account is level 1 for whatever reason. And so either bosses, in my way of thinking, which I feel like could potentially get a little confusing, but if that's like the Pantheon bosses, then that's just exactly where those would be. Or maybe you're right, maybe it's a little bit of a broader breadth of what is going to be accessible under there. And yeah, Golden Guardian could absolutely be there. Or there's more dungeons, but it doesn't really make sense, right? Like it does say equipment, so yeah, he probably is somewhere else.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, you got to think as well, like, and this is what I was looking at when you look at the dungeons for equipment. You got the Forge of Broker, the Workshop of Ptah, Stavrog's Horde, the Lair Fafnir, and then you've got the Hag's something, which might be like the Hag's Horde, for example. And the thing is, in the game, if I remember rightly, there's 6 slots for gear, right? So it would only make sense to me if there's 6 equipment dungeons to fill those roles, and you're only seeing 5 here. So maybe Golden Guardian is one of them, and he might be in here. But I do expect there's like a 6th dungeon we can't see, because he obviously doesn't scroll across to fill all that role. But to me, when it comes to like Golden Guardian, as I mentioned, like maybe being in the bosses or in a different area. I just think it makes more sense because as we kind of played it in the caverns experience, for example, it was there just to generate gold. So you got to think that's not really equipment. It's not really probably the Ascension either side of things. It's just kind of like general loop. You need gold for everything. So I imagine like there's going to be a boss like the Golden Guardian for gold. Maybe there's one specifically for XP, you know? Maybe there's something else in the game, like the spirits, for example, that you could farm maybe spirits on as well. Like just kind of core bosses that you can, fundamentally you need on your accounts. That's kind of how I'm expecting it to be. But
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it's, well, one, kind of going back to that screen for the equipment but dungeons themselves, I would imagine from a design perspective that there's more than 5. Because if there were just 5 at start, it would be kind of silly to be like, okay, guys, we're going to create a screen where it shows 4 dungeons and you can just see a little bit of the 5th, and then we're going to scroll 1 inch to be able to see the last one. That's great design. Like, no, like if it was only going to be 5 dungeons, they'd probably have some kind of like screen developed where it's like, okay, here are the 5 and you don't need to scroll. So I would imagine, yeah. And I think Hag's Hollow could be a cool name. But maybe after
cool
Hag's
too,
Hollow, there might be another one, because I don't have it pulled up here, but we do know there's been a long list of all of the types of gear sets that are in this game. It's not a short list, and it's actually I'd like to kind of ask you a little bit more about this, Sneaky. You mentioned like 6 gear slots, 6 dungeons. In my perspective, and kind of like especially history of hero collectors, is my thought is there's actually going to be like 2 or 3, or we'll say a handful of different gear sets, but all slots that drop from one dungeon. So do you think the opposite? Do you think that it would be like, okay, in this dungeon it's this piece of gear, or kind of what is your expectation, or at least first thought?
I think it's going to be a mixture of the two. Maybe you're right with the way the equipment dungeons are set up, where you can go in and it's going to be specific sets, and by farming the workshop of Ptah, you might be getting specifically these 2 sets. But I think the one feedback I think a lot of people did give back from the Caverns experience was the way that just farming this one stage for like your helmets or just for your chest pieces, if you're just looking for that one piece of gear, was really like desirable. Like people really enjoyed that aspect. So I'm thinking they might be trying to do that in some sort of way, and maybe it's still sorted in like the like the Caverns experience. But I think maybe the dungeons is going to take that role, especially in the equipment side of things. Because you got to think as well, you've got weapons as well to obtain, so weapons could be a dungeon in the equipment. So it's like it makes sense if each one of these slots of dungeons have maybe a specific gear, and they could do some funky stuff with that too. Like it's a different concept compared to what probably most people have, but then imagine each dungeon had like a 48-hour rotation, so every 40 hours it is doing what you're doing, where you're going to get different sets in there. So in the Savrag's Horde is going to be your chest pieces, but today and tomorrow it's going to be the thingy set, I don't know what it was called, the body set, for example, and the crit set. And then if you wait the next 48 hours, it's going to be these 2 sets, and then the next 40 hours, and it just keeps rotating. And at least then, like, it gives you as well opportunities to, if you want to farm that set, you can farm it. And if it's not this set you want, you don't need, and you don't feel like you're forced to go into it either, which gives, again, maybe a bit more player flexibility on how they approach the game.
Right. And I think that would be great to see, right? Like the player flexibility is needed, I think, in this genre. And I don't think that enabling flexibility in the player's choice and allowing them to make meaningful choices, I don't think that kneecaps monetization, right? So every game that is developed as a hero collector or a mobile game or any free-to-play that has microtransactions, there has to be some kind of division between creating a fun game but also being able to monetize so that we can grow as a company and develop more and whatever, all those stuff. And I'm going into this, so like I will say for sure, I'm definitely going to this just thinking about like the standard, like, okay, we have a dungeon, it's gonna be these sets, we're gonna have to go farm for these sets. But if they could bring in that like new recipe, that new style, something new, innovating on what has been, I think that would be really beneficial. And I like kind of what you're saying, in that, yeah, what if they switched between what gear was dropping so that players could make meaningful choices in the day, saying, oh man, there's not an event, for example, around the lair of Fafnir today, but they're dropping the body set. And I am really wanting to get an amazing 6-piece set. So I'm going to literally just pour all of my time and attention into that. And I feel like I can walk away today having felt like I've progressed my account. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
that could be a really cool idea. I love that. But we'll see, right? Like, there's definitely going to be some things here. There is all kinds of, I mean, gosh, just like, I'm I'm just geeking out by the designs, the graphics myself personally. Just like, these cards look so incredible.
So I was going to ask about the Ascension ones for you then.
Mhm.
What do you reckon for the Ascension dungeons these are going to be? Do you think they are specifically going to be for obviously the Ascension star material that we needed, or do you reckon it's going to be there's going to be more to it? Because obviously at the moment there's the placeholder, which is the summoning stones. So you can kind of throw that one out. Maybe you
Right.
do get a summoning stone of
Yeah.
some sort, but maybe this is where you get those, materials to get your heroes to those pink stars, or
Right.
what do you reckon?
The one resource that I continually forgot the name of, the alchemy stones.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I hope that when they are designing, or now that they have designed these Ascension dungeons, that it's not just an alchemy stone grind, right? Like, that's been done. Everything under the sun for hero collectors has been done. Like, how can they continue to make it special? I don't know. But if you're looking at it, which the order would be confusing this way, but you can see here, he has access to 3 of the 4, right? His
yeah,
account looks to be level 1. It says you unlock Guanyin's Lotus Temple at level 20. So I would assume that, let's say it's just alchemy stones, that Guanyin's temple is probably the Eternal Temple. And so you're not going to be able to farm for Eternal alchemy stones until you hit level 20, which, for anybody who's new to the genre, level 20 in a hero collector can be achieved in like a day. So unless they completely change the XP scale for Godforge, that's not going to be like something that's going to be capping you for your progress or anything like that. You'll get there before you know it, which kind of also leads it to the self is like, okay, why would they level cap this? Like, what's even the point, right? Any hardcore player
yeah.
is
It's
going to get there
interesting.
immediately.
No, yeah, it is interesting that you say that, because it's got to think like, well, what if hypothetically before level 20 you did get an eternal hero, right? Well, you can't work on him now until you're level 20. Obviously, some people, as you said, you will be able to get that really fast, but it is a weird, interesting point that you mentioned that, because I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking, oh, it's level 20. Sure, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, yeah, whatever. But now you mention it, it makes more sense, because maybe like, and it is weird because he's like he's level 1, and it's not even like showcasing, for example. And maybe this does come into the game where maybe you only can start with the Shrine of Hercules, or the Kisune one, or the Anwin one, depending on who you started with, because that's kind of like your Slayer or your Cunning or your
Right.
strength-based hero that you've got. And then by like level 5, the next one opens up, because they should expect you to have completed the campaign to get one of those heroes, right? Then level 10, the next one, then level 20, the eternal one. So then at least it does kind of pace the game at some reasonable pace. But
Yeah.
it is weird because the others aren't like that. He's level 1, so it is super interesting that you brought it up, because like my brain's like working now, like trying to figure this out.
Yep. Well, and this is probably a good time to also mention that, hey, guys, everything in this video, everything that Simon ever shares, anything that we talk about, it's all subject to change, right? This is a game dev build. We have played the alpha, but all of this is brand new content. And so this very well could just be unlocked for him because he's showcasing it, right? We don't actually know what leveling in Godforge is going to look like, how it's going to progress, and access to various parts of the game. What we're seeing here could very well change from the moment that you get to log into beta or the live game once you begin to play. But you're right, it does pose some kind of strange questions. But that means it's stuff for us to learn, stuff to figure out. I do hope, to your previous question, that Ascension dungeons are more than just alchemy stones, because historically in this genre, that is a critical, like, beginner entry level space for players to go and play and conquer and defeat, and then relatively quickly it becomes an absolutely lost and like dead piece of content, because whether alchemy stones become other resources from other drops from other bosses, like I know like in Raid Shadow Legends we get all kinds of whatever it's equivalent of Ascension, we get all those types of resources, potions and pots or whatever, from like daily clan boss and things like that, to where it's like, yeah, Ascension dungeons, unless you are early game, aren't even something you touch. I might go in there like once a quarter and be like, how quickly can I destroy this boss with the champions I've got now? But other than that, it's just nothing. So yeah, I hope that they bring some innovation to this area, because these bosses look sick. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, you can look like in the video later on when he brings up the actual stage, right? So you can see like the stage or rewards, for example, stage 1. Hopefully, obviously this, because it's only stage 1, maybe there's more rewards when it comes down, but when you just look at those reward previews, you've got to try to make, as you can imagine, like some assumptions how it's going to work, where we're going to get some gold for completing each stage, which is nice because we always need gold. That obviously in the middle is a placeholder object, and if we are assuming, like we are, like this is specifically for Ascension materials, so this is going to be your, the alchemy stone for the internal, the internal wisdom heroes. It's the Eternals. Yeah, the Eternals.
Eternal wisdom, strength, cunning.
Yeah, they have to do with freest strength, cunning, and wisdom. That's why I'm just trying to remember
all the words, man. Then we'll get it down.
Yeah, and then you've got the left chest, and that's what's probably got most people more interested on, because what could be in the chest? Like, could it be a hero fragment? Could it be a piece of gear? Could it be an imprint? Right? Could it be a weapon? Like, what could that be? Because you got to think, like, especially in the terms of like, this is the Ascension rewards that I'm looking at in a minute. Like, it has to make sense within there, because you've got these equipment dungeons giving you equipment, so that kind of maybe like eliminates one of the possibility rewards, but it kind of like emphasizes maybe your concern. You get where I'm going at, like where this is going to be maybe a formula that's already been shown before, and maybe it isn't going to be anything innovative just for this one area. And that's the only thing I'm kind of like hinting at here. Maybe that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, when it comes down to it, like, they are designing a game, like, and they do need to get that game out the door. And so there are going to be areas of Godforge that just feel very basic. I think that however we take that or accept that, like, that's just kind of something that we're going to have to realize and remember that they have to, it's what Simon shared with Adam and I on Podforge, is that they have to get an MVP, a minimum viable product, out the door. They have to be able to package something that is playable for people who are passionate and people who are brand new to the concept and that can enjoy it, so they can continue to innovate, so they can get resources and revenue to be able to continue to innovate and get to that, closer to that final product, that true most valuable product, the MVP that they want. So no, it's awesome. Well, let's jump over really quick just to the dungeons. I know there's still so much to talk about, but like, is there anything that stood out to you in terms of like style? Like, for example, I saw Svarog's Horde, and Svarog is not a dragon. Like, He is like he's I think all depictions of Svarog is a really like large Slavic man, and I was like looking into him and I was like, okay, well, are there dragons around him? No, there's not. Like, and so I'm like just like looking at this like, huh, three-headed dragon. There is some like triune like concepts about around Svarog, but all the others are making sense. But I'm just really curious about that one, and I didn't know if you had any other thoughts like around these dungeons or anything that you knew they were like this really like piques my interest in terms of story and what this could be.
So I obviously been looking at these and I'm watching the footages too. So Svarog's horde. There we go. I honestly think it's going to be a fun one where, especially when you think of how the game is, there's 3 types, right? You got wisdom, strength, and cunning. So maybe it's as simple as you can kind of see there, there's 3 heads, 3 colors, and they all match the type of colors of the affinities.
Yeah.
So maybe you could bring a team in and you kind of need a mixture of one of each. You know, like you need a strength DPS and a good cunning DPS and a good, wisdom DPS or some sort of composition where maybe you can focus down 2, or do you focus down 3? Do you focus down just the 1 with a maxed out team?
Right.
And maybe each one has a different set of rewards, has a different damage table, and it also lets you as well as a player, like, obviously not kind of feel bad, because if you do have only a good strength hero as well, maybe it's still going to work, right? And it's still going to bounce off. So that's the first one I thought of when I saw that one.
Yeah.
The Forge one, we see gameplay of.
Yes.
And that one was interesting, and I kind of mentioned that before we started on. And I don't know if this is just me speculating here, but it looked like whenever Hades did his ability, the speed sync of the Forge desync. And I think that might be a massive important part of the gameplay.
Yeah, you can definitely see, so like here in the footage, when he attacks one of the mechanisms, it distinctly changes its speed and does some things. And so it'll be really interesting. He's like, I'm not going to show you everything. But...
Bro, you got degenerates here. We will break it down.
Yes, here we are talking about it. Sure enough. There's definitely going to be something that's going on. And what's also interesting, so like, okay, and what I didn't even notice before, so they have turn meter. These mechanisms have turn meter. When they do, their speed, like they pump several times. And so it'll be interesting. I would imagine, if I was just going to guess, like anything like this is powering something. And so if you can turn meter control and potentially even bring in a specific type of hero, leak coming on Friday, guys. Check it out. There's going to be something really cool coming from the creators. But I think if we can bring a type of hero that brings good control to this dungeon, I have a feeling that's going to be something that's really pivotal to here. But I mean, what do you have any other thoughts around it, around the mechanisms and everything like that?
Yeah, I think it's on that boat of some sort, because you watch, like you say, there's 2 kind of parts to it that you see where they're in sync, and then you see, I think it's Hades do some sort of AoE move, and it puts them out of sync, right? And then it's still doing its thing.
Yeah.
But then you see later on that they play an actual speed down 1 debuff, and that completely eliminates how 1 works.
Ymir froze it. He freezes it. So that, it like completely stops it. And I'm trying to tell, did he has attack up on him. Did he get that? Did he self buff, or does he receive that when the pumps take their turn? Let's see. Okay, so he attacks. Down on him. He doesn't have it. He does Aether Burn. A pump takes its turn, and then he receives attack up. Or sharpen. No, that's not attack up. I think that's sharpen too. So what it looks like here then is that those pumps are going to be buffing him. At least one of them is, and the other one might be doing something else, right? It might be cleansing him or something. Those are some mechanics we've seen from games in this genre. But yeah, definitely controlling those, maybe applying, block buffs or whatever form of that we have inside of Godforge will be pivotal. I think what this does for me, Sneaky, is it just reminds me that the creators of Godforge aren't just like copying and pasting things, right? Like, granted, some of the concepts that we just discussed have been seen in other games. Sure, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is recycled. Everything is innovated on. Everything is reused. But they're not just bringing us into a dungeon with a boss that has some skills and saying, okay, slay the boss. But they're adding some other mechanics that adds, utility and other things to consider in the fight, which I definitely enjoy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with that point, kind of following on, I think what they're doing, which is good, is the engagement, right? It's the fact that the dungeons themselves are engaging. It's not just, like you say, a boss that has some skills and it's gonna do some damage and hit you with this bit of stun tech, and then you're gonna have to wait these turns. Like, it makes you think, like, okay, what if I can just actually maybe just turn off one pump, right, for this dungeon? Maybe that's a strat. Maybe you can just build a team and it's able to deal with one pump and steal the buff that's the other pumps giving, right? Instead of trying to manage both pumps with crowd control, right? And I think that is like the good thing about the game. And it's like we were saying earlier, and like, as I said earlier, with the rewards and stuff, they don't need to innovate every single point, right? And that's what a lot of people probably get maybe mixed up on, right? Some of the best features in these games, like Raid and Dragonair and King Arthur, Watcher and stuff, are very simple mechanics, right? And if it ain't broke, why change it? Let's be honest, because it is perfectly it. So I like the fact that they're innovating in the right areas, and this is like a really good example of it, as you mentioned. Like, make dungeons and fights, like raids, like these big bosses, engaging and feel like an actual puzzle almost, not just a big beat stick, you know?
Yeah. Which, I mean, we've seen that already, right? With Fafnir. And so they're not just going to be reiterating on Fafnir every single time, which is exciting. Something else I want to point out about the dungeons, which really excited me. One, we know that all dungeons are going to be 5-man teams. That's great. Hallelujah. Good. That brings more synergies, more abilities, everything like that. But what I was really happy to see is when he clicked start, we were right in front of the boss.
Yeah.
Like,
it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness. Guys, if you've seen my videos, you know my history. I'm a 5-year free-to-play Raid Shadow Legends player, so that is the majority of my experience stepping into this. And yeah, can be, especially from as an early and mid-game player, there can be nothing more frustrating at times than saying, okay, I have everything I need for the boss. Now I need to figure out how to make sure that those things, those heroes, those mechanics can also get me through the waves first. And the fact that, at least from what we're seeing here with this one dungeon example, is that there aren't going to be waves. And if that's true for dungeons, that's pretty exciting for me. I think that simplifies it, helps players. One, it simplifies the requirements, right? But it also allows for more, I think, flexibility in team comp, in hero selections, choices, things like that. Like, there's so many things I know that I've done in the past where it's like, man, I'd love to be able to do this, but I literally just can't use that particular hero, that particular champion in choice because of what has to come before the boss. So personally,
yeah, it's super annoying. It is super annoying. I'll just add to that, like, and I think, like, I was speaking to, like, Miss Hillary and stuff, but another content creator, so check her out. And I think she feels kind of probably the same way as I do on this point, where it's like, if I'm going into a dungeon or raid, I want to fight the boss. And obviously, when you add those waves, and like you say, you're adding these extra hurdles, and you're eliminating the possibilities of just being creative and having a really fun team that can do certain things that you wouldn't particularly go for, right? And that's only enabled because you get them right in a boss. So yeah, I want to add on to that. Like, I'm excited to see instant boss fights, which is such a weird thing to say, right?
Yeah, we've just become so, like, used to one thing for many of us. But you know, like Dragonair, you mentioned it earlier, it's completely different. The experience, you go into the boss fight and it's just there. You're in that type of fight, but of course that style of combat and everything like that is completely different than this game. And so, but it's good to see that they're just kind of trimming the fat potentially on some of these things and allowing players to just be able to progress, because wave content is going to exist in plenty of places. They're not in need for more wave content. And in terms of design, this actually speeds up their process as developers, because they're not having to think, okay, what waves do we need? How do we need to increase their difficulty as they go through? Which, just to highlight, guys, there's 15 levels of difficulty on these dungeons, which means there is plenty of room for growth, which is really exciting. And we have no idea what's going to come in that realm or how they're going to progress that as the game continues to grow in the community. But starting out at 15 means that the developers are leaving plenty of room for them to be able to innovate and grow the challenge, which is exciting as well. So when you see that, keep that in mind. But yeah, I think this setup allows for maximum flexibility and ease of implementation, I think, on the developer side, and honestly, like a good experience for the player. So it feels like a win-win to me.
100%.
Well, those are the dungeons, man. And I know that you were kind of sending me some screenshots and getting excited about some of the hero portraits we saw as well. So like, let's jump into that real quick, because I know your video, I loved seeing your reaction video. I loved that. Just like going over everything that Simon was showcasing last week. So yeah, let's jump over to heroes. I'm going to kind of like leave the ball in your court on this one, because I think this is more up your alley and brain. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of what we're seeing new in the portraits in the roster. So dude, take it away.
Yeah, so like, I know Simon tried to be sneaky again. He went fast this time between these portraits, so you had to hit the frame by frame to get this.
Hey, you can't out sneak Sneaky.
Yeah, no, you can't, man. I'm the king of sneaks, bro. But what you do see in the first one is obviously between, as I'm calling it, Nebuchadnezzar, and then obviously Oda Nobunaga, is this new portrait. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know who she is. And I've even looked on Raven Pyrus's website. She's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Nowhere. So that is a new wisdom here. It could be the Morrigan.
I was about to say, I could almost bet money that's the Morrigan.
Yeah, so it could be anyone in that ballpark. So that would be, probably if you're watching the video right now, start commenting your conspiracy theories. Yes. That's what's going to drive up engagement and be really fun to see what you guys guess, right?
Yep.
Because the other hero on there is known. So at the bottom right corner, you'll see there is a weird-looking, spooky neon eye guy. But we know that as to be Tlaloc. I want to pronounce his name right. He's a Mayan god, and you can see that again on the Raven Pyrus website. But I believe this was leaked from the content creators from a past leak in our Art Attacks, which was really cool. So it's interesting because we can see now why it's exciting for me and probably exciting for you. Most of the time when you start to see these portraits, especially on screen, most of the time they've probably got the model or most of the model in game, even if it's a T pose, and they get into that final, the end of what to do on the to-do list. So what's your thoughts on the heroes in that first one? Because honestly, that's what I'm all about.
No, I mean, it's always exciting, right, when we see more of those like black portraits evaporate and we actually get to see the images and everything it looks like. I'm just so stoked about it. I know that I mentioned you after your video. I think it's whenever I see like fair Caucasian female in this, I always think Arthurian or the Morrigan. So it's like, okay, it's Morghese or Morgan Le Fay or the Morrigan or something like that. We're still waiting for like any of those three, and I would probably bet money that she is one of those three. If we could see what faction or what realm she was from, we could definitely potentially nail it down a little bit more. But I mean, girl looks like she's up to something, so that's super exciting. But yeah, the guy that you mentioned down on the right, we've seen him before. Looking forward to I mean, honestly, actually a sick hero design, like absolutely gorgeous. Is that the, I forget, is that the skeletal one? Like his frame is a skeleton?
No, so that's Sizzin. So there's two of these guys.
Right. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be mixing those up for a long time.
Yeah, and Pollock is this guy.
Gotcha.
I can quick Google for everyone. Pollock is the ancient Aztec god of rain, water, and fertility and lightning, which is pretty sick. So it's interesting to see what he's gonna do, because I'm imagining him to be some sort of zappy boy, as you can imagine, with maybe like a DPS role, like a mage DPS role. That's how I'm feeling he's going to be in there. So yep. I'm excited for that one. But there is obviously another interesting one on the second page, because we see finally on who I thought, I believe, is Netfis in the middle. To the right, finally, we actually see Izanaga. So Izanagi's got his actual portrait in game, which gives us good telling from, again, past content creator leaks that we've seen of their development and the models and design for him, that he's coming into those final stages, and I'm going to be excited to see how good he looks. So what about Izanagi? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, honestly, just being able to see everything like progressing, they're working at such a quick clip these days that every single time that Simon shares the screen, we're going to see less and less black portraits. And so getting to see them in there and be like, oh my gosh, it's getting closer, we're seeing these things that we know they're in game, it just like creates that hype in this community, those who are really just on fire and waiting for Godforge. So no, super exciting. But let's talk about the beautiful face in the room, the hair of gold. Whew, that Lancelot design. Oh man.
I already told my wife we might be breaking up.
You know, it's funny. He kind of talks about Lancelot and he kind of like pairs him with Achilles. My wife, when she saw Achilles in the alpha, she was like, whoa, like that face.
Yeah, no, it's good to see Lancelot in game, I'm gonna be honest. Obviously I was joking with young Percy, the master of stuns, Percival, the one and only.
Yeah.
And it's good to see Lancelot. I didn't expect to be an epic though, I'll be honest.
Honestly, I'm glad he's an epic, personally. I don't think he brings enough as a character of lore in terms of like what he did necessarily to be a legendary. Like he's in the story because of, you know, Guinevere, and Guinevere we know is an epic, so I think it actually aligns pretty well. Love his design. I think the armor is absolutely sick. I agree with Simon there. But I'm glad to see that they're not skimping on the facial features, because that has been really something that I think they've been struggling with. But even still, what I kind of question with is, like, I actually don't think his hair needed to change. Like, in terms of the actual style of it, what needed to change is the physics of it. And to see that their updated version is just kind of like going away from that, I am kind of curious, like, the choices they're making. Like, it's a mobile game first, right? So they are very limited on polygons. They're limited on like what they can do and how well they can like animate hair, right? Like, we're only going to be getting so much. But I guess for me, it's a little disappointing where it feels like this direction is highlighting the fact that like they don't have the capacity, or the game itself won't have the capacity to really like make the characters with great hair really have great hair. But you know, we'll just see
realistic hair.
We'll see when the game comes out. But I mean, definitely some improvements there.
Yeah, because I remember, I'm sure he mentions it even in the video, and I don't know if it was in a recent podcast too about the polygons of the game, because it is just the fact that they're set to so many polygons on screen. But I believe he mentioned like the team are finding pretty clever ways of actually innovating ways of getting more polygons technically on screen without adding more polygons, if that makes sense. Like they're adding somehow better quality of these. So it's going to be interesting to see, like you say, how things move on. It's interesting to see as well. He's going to be a Slayer boy, so we know Lancelot's going to be a DPS. So far, he's in the Strength Affinity, guys. So keep an eye on that in case those change in beta.
And he's Chaos.
Yeah, and he's in the Chaos Allegiance, as I like to call it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Arthur, which, I mean, granted, it's like Lancelot and Arthur were very close in Legend until, of course, you know, Guinevere had to go and get in between them. But Lancelot is Chaos and Arthur is Order. And I don't remember, I haven't taken a good look at Guinevere in a long time, or if they even showed the stats of her, but I don't remember what order she's in. But I do want to highlight, I thought his hero portrait was just almost comical. Like, it's just like a whimsical, like, hi, I'm here. Hello, guys. What's up? What's up? Hey,
it gives me.
Yeah, hey, do you want to go catch the tide? It looks great for some surfing. Yeah.
It honestly gives me the Tarek vibes from League of Legends. I don't know if everyone remembers the Tarek League of Legends memes, but it gives me that vibe. I'm sorry, but it does. Like, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it is funny, and yeah, I just thought that was something to point out. Just in the difference as well, like that we've seen in hero portraits versus the actual like hero itself, means that it shows Fateless's attention to detail, right? Like they could so easily take the exact same pose, like mock it up to be in a screenshot and put it in the hero portrait, but they are distinctly making portraits unique from the actual like hero designs as well, which is a small thing, but it does highlight their attention to detail, which is great.
Yeah, attention to detail is obviously with the next, and I think the final hero to show off Mr. Wang, right? Mr. Yan Wang, the King of DU. He looks cool.
Oh my gosh. Dude looks wicked.
Yeah, I absolutely love the design on him, honestly. They pulled this one out of the park. Like, even it's just the subtle things, like, and like the more you look and you start to see more and more, like obviously the belt being held up by these chains with skulls, the pauldrons, actually the bowl with the little ring on it and stuff like that. You start to see all these little intricate design you know, like ideas of calling back to the legend and the myths and the story of this, you know, deity, and really embodying it. So he's so cool, man. Like, I love him.
Yeah, I mean, such a crazy design. It's something that I mentioned in a previous video, talking about like how Godforge is being designed, why they're designing the way they are, is that they recognize and they know that there's a certain bar. And that bar has to be met if they hope to engage with players that are not new to the genre. Now, if they could bring in millions of players that never played a Hero Collector before just because of their IP and they were hugely successful, then they could just like low bar the graphics, it's a mobile game, whatever. But they know that's not the case. Like the Hell Hades community alone, it proves that that's not the case. And so this is we're really starting to see the level of design that they are aiming for shine through. We're beginning to see how the lighting is going to play into it, how everything is going to showcase, and we also are able to know that, like, okay, like the design level is there. They're maximizing lighting, they're maximizing, you know, optimization, all those kinds of things, and we're going to see like those incremental changes, you know, from between now and launch. Like we can see what they're aiming for and beginning to get excited about that. And yeah, I think he's a great example of just how awesome the designs are going to be. Really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's cool the fact that as well, and this is what I was going to ask you about. Obviously, we see he's a disruptor here, and on the next time you get to see his abilities, right? And I was just wondering what you reckon his abilities are going to be, right? Because if he's a disruptor, he's got to be some sort of crowd controller, some sort of way of disrupting the battlefield. So are you gonna have a first guess to see what his basic is, A2 and ultimate maybe?
So his basic is going to apply some kind of decreased speed.
I'm feeling that too.
I
It's
think
quite
it's
evident.
quite obvious, right? Like, in fact, I would
Yeah.
argue that a lot of like these skills are pretty obvious potentially, or at least point in a direction. So the first one is clearly some kind of speed control. I would say that his core is going to have something to do with confuse,
Yeah, I'm
or a
feeling that.
similar disable.
Or petrify.
Potentially, yeah. The ultimate, however, I bet this is going to be one of the first lockout abilities that we've seen. I think this
I'm
is going to
feeling
be
that.
some form. Now, I'm missing it here. I don't think I was able to see it. Do we know? Like, he is a legendary, right?
Yeah, he is. He is a legendary.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. So I would imagine we're going to get some form of an AoE lockout. And if I just had to guess right now, I would say it's core lockout.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
What about you? What do you
That
think?
would be interesting. So I'm on the same boat where obviously you can look at the A1, the basic ability. It's shackling down someone's leg, right? So anyone will tell you it has to be some sort of decrease in speed, even if it's like hit 2 targets,
Yeah.
decrease speed 1, right?
Yeah.
Just something simple as that.
Exactly. I mean, they might as well just put the the debuff image right here. It's basically a pretty version of the decreased speed debuff image.
Yeah, and like you say with the like the core A2, I think it is some sort of, again, crowd control. I don't know if it could be confused. It almost looks like if they made madness a keyword, that would be the image for madness if it was on me.
Well, do you remember? You have more knowledge in this than I do. What is he like in lore? What is kind of like his story?
So he's the damned king of Dayu. So if I just, again, I'm not gonna...
Quick Google search. Yeah.
Quick Google search.
AI will tell us. AI will inform all.
Yeah, but he is in the Tian thing, so it's in the same Chinese area of, like Guan Yu and that. And he's meant to be the king of hell, basically, like their version of that.
Okay.
So you think, if you looked up, anyone wanted to look it up really quickly, you will find out that, he proceeds over one of the 10 layers of DU, because they believe, I'm guessing, their hell is layered, and him being the king, he's in charge of all of them. So yeah, I think it's some sort of petrify, some sort of confuse, as you might say, for that. And then I think it's pretty damn obvious again with the lockout symbol. Like, it screams out, I'm locking down something, because you can look on the Raven Pirates website. Shout out again, another content creator again. Really good resource.
Killer website.
All the debuffs are
Check
there.
it out, guys.
Yeah. All the debuffs are there, and you'll see lock skill, lock ultimate, lock core, right? And they all have that symbol. So it could be like you could lock down one, or it could be a bit crazy and lock down either one. Like, he could hit an AoE and lock down either your basic core or ultimate. Like, he just locks one of 3 down.
Yeah.
So then it's a bit more madness to it, a bit more craziness to it, a bit more maybe fun to it.
Right. Or it could play off of whatever, because we know we can use cores outside of turn, right? And so it could even play off of whatever. If there's a disable on his core, then if there is a disable, the ultimate does this. If there's not a disable, then it does this. Like, it could be like, if there's a disable, it locks passives, or it locks cores. But if there's no disable, it locks the core ability, something like that.
Yeah, I like that
ultimate
direction.
flexibility.
Yeah, I like that direction more, probably, because one thing I noticed in the alpha is a lot of I wouldn't say like the best heroes, but a lot of the heroes that really meshed with the community, you would have noticed like their basic core and ultimate generally synergize together in a really meaningful way, where like you could easily see like a hero went from A1 to A2 to A3, or he might have gone from A2 to A1 to A3. Like, you had an easy way that every hero on his own could impact it. So I kind of like the idea you said there. If they've got a disable, like the speed down, or maybe the confuse, petrify, maybe something else, that ultimate does X effect. That sounds like a really cool ability if that's the way it would work. And I like that. I think it's a lot more engaging because it makes decisions again on. Because then you get the passive, and the passive is this creepy thing I have no clue about. Because it's 3 eyes with some guy just going like he's screaming out of just absolute pure madness again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like,
who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, this, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most when it comes to getting our hands on Godforge again is just digging into the heroes. Like, we've spoken directly with Brad, with Dirk, and the game designers at Fateless, and there is so much attention that is being given to all of these heroes that, I mean, it's just going to be awesome to be able to see what can be done. And yeah, the passives and what crazy things could come with imprints, there's so many options, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm really interested to see the passive.
Yeah,
because you don't know what it is, and like, depending on what that passive is, like, how can I break that as an imprint on another hero? Like, that's always in my head first thing. So
yeah. I said really early on, and I asked when I was on, I think the Fateless podcast, I got the opportunity to sit down with Brad and Dirk, and it was just like, okay, like, you're basically introducing unlimited like combinations. Like, how, as a game designer, do you manage that like crazy level without just like introducing all kinds of game breaking mechanics? And I mean, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. I think the only thing we haven't really talked about is Arthur. I don't know if there's much in your mind to share there, but I mean, it's great to see him in game, I'll say that. I really missed him for alpha. I was really hoping, I was really sad to see that it wasn't an alpha, but he seems to really be coming along.
Yeah, I was interested to see what he was going to be in alpha if he was in there, but it's going to be interesting because I feel like he might be one of the defenders, kind of like rivaling, if you want to say rivaling, like Heimdall's position that we've known from alpha, right? As this pure tank, like actual tank, who makes your team tanky, like. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what alpha is going to be like in the actual game, especially if. Who knows? Maybe they do something cool with him, right? Where maybe with Divinity, and you've got max Divinity, his Excalibur does an extra effect, right? Dude, as a passive.
And that Excalibur, like, Simon even calls out there, they need to do some VFX around it, but oh my gosh, like, his and Lancelot's swords, just the design is so sick. So sick.
They've got good sword designs, I'll say that.
yeah, absolutely.
They've been looking somewhere for them. They're really good.
Yeah. Well, man, we've been going for quite some time, so I think that's probably about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. Sneaky, thanks for joining me, and us being able to do this collab together. This has been a lot of fun. Guys, make sure and like and subscribe. Comment on what are you most excited about in the video today, and check out Sneakyy's channel if you haven't. I'll link down in the description, and thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.